Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to Starbucs, powered by Chris Gates Fitness. I'm your host, Anthony DiNardo. With me, we have Jim Rosati. Jim, happy Monday, happy Memorial Day.
Yeah, happy Memorial Day, everybody. Hopefully it's an off day for everyone. You can just relax, go to the pool. Pirates are off, so you get to save yourself from everyone. Get to save yourself from the. I don't know. It was a good weekend. I'm not gonna say you save yourself from having to watch the Pirates today. It was a fun weekend.
Yeah, like it hasn't been too bad actually. Last week we talked. The Pirates went 4-3 that week. This week they went 3-3. They did lose 2 out of 3 the first series, and they take 2 out of 3 from the Braves. Obviously, yesterday was a tough matchup. It's Chris Sale who's been just completely dominant. And it's the Braves. Like if you're gonna take 2 out of 3 from the Braves, you're gonna be happy. So yeah, like not a whole lot to really be miserable about. Let's put it that way. Can't really be miserable. The Pirates are playing some pretty decent baseball, but of course there's things that could get better. That's for sure.
Yeah. Good way to put it.
Great.
I mean, they're playing okay right now. The bullpen is obviously, still a pretty big issue. But offensively, things are looking better. Yesterday was rough, but they ran into a buzzsaw that's Chris Sale, so we'll give them kind of the benefit of the doubt there. Outside, really, Chris Sale and Shota Imanaga, the offense has been fairly productive past couple weeks.
Yeah, that's fair. And those are 2 really, really good pitchers. So they're making a lot of teams do that. And the difference is the Pirates were allowing bad pitchers to look like Chris Sale. So it's fine that they're allowing the pitchers to look like themselves these days. So that's good. But before we go any further, I do just want to say, of course, BetOnline is your number one source for NBA and NHL playoffs this season. Every stat, every matchup, and even live odds while the games are being played. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of our 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Don't forget to use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts here. But again, the offense has looked really good. Again, it's been excellent since Nick Gonzalez has been called up. We keep talking about it. I mean, Nick Gonzalez himself has looked excellent since his call up. So offensively, there's not a whole lot of complaints. The starting pitching, Paul Skeens is here now. You see what he's been doing. We've been talking about Jared Jones for how long. Mitch Keller, right? 4 earned runs in his last 27.2 innings pitched this month. Like the starting pitching is absolutely there. The bullpen's done. It's been toast. That's the problem now.
Yeah. The bullpen currently being the main issue. You got David Bednar pitching a lot better this month. Colin Holderman's been excellent. Luis Ortiz has been fine, kind of filling in that long relief role. Hunter Stratton had the blow up game. You're hoping he's settling back in. He had a good bounce back performance yesterday. But yeah, you just hope for somebody to really take the reins here. There's too many guys who you can't rely on. And when you have too many players that you can't rely on, it makes you lean on those guys who you can rely on a little bit more than you probably should. And when those guys get overused, that's when they start becoming ineffective. So, yeah, they really need to get kind of the group as a whole contributing.
That's for sure. But some actual concerns too, not just performance wise, but with the team. I mean, there was some injuries that happened yesterday. I mean, obviously Acuna, you never want to see that. He tears his ACL. Talking Braves, of course. On the Pirates side, though, Martin Perez looked kind of funky, recovering, getting it out at first base. Looked like he maybe hurt his foot, his leg, some sort. And then, I mean, he finished, but he exited the start yesterday. And then Joey Bart, he just like magically disappeared on us. Yasmani Grandal comes in and found out later that his left thumb was the reason he left the game. So yeah, like there's some concerns because the catching position's already quite thin. I mean, it was reported, not too long ago that Yasmani Grandal, his groin was bothering him. That's why he sat out that one day. And then he's forced to still play. Grant Cook was on the taxi squad because of it. Now Joey Bart leaves, so we don't know what's happening with him. Again, like Henry Davis is down the AAA because he was just awful. Jason Delay's on the 60-day IL. The catching position is looking rather thin right now. What are we gonna do, Jim?
I think you pray for the off day today and you hope that Bart's okay, right? And if Bart's okay, then you can just roll with what you got. Now, the problem comes down to what if Bart's not okay? Like if Bart's not able to go, you know, for this series, you need a backup catcher. They can't go and do it this series without having a backup catcher. Then it gets a little tricky. Do you go with the minor league veteran who you can sneak off the roster if you need to, and if he needs to catch a game or two, he's at least capable of fielding the position, and that's Grant Cook, right? Or do you go with your first overall pick, who you sent down to the minors to get right, and he's been looking really, really, really good for 17 games now in AAA? Do you bring him up and say, "All right, your turn again"? I talked about it yesterday on the post-game show that, like, the more important thing than having maybe just a better backup catcher for a
Mhm.
week is to have Henry Davis right. Like, that's more important for the Pirates from not only a short-term standpoint, but from a long-term standpoint. Like, the best case scenario for the Pirates is that Henry Davis is right. And making sure that he's right is pretty key at this point in time, because you don't want to keep bouncing him up and down and up and down. Like, you want this next time he comes up to be the last time he comes up. That's your goal. So if that's your goal, I don't think 16 games is enough in AAA to find it. So I'm willing to roll with Grant Cook as my backup catcher for a week until Jason Delay is ready to come off the IL, right? And then you have Delay up for a week or so until Davis is ready, until you feel like he is ready. Now, you can feel like Davis is ready right now. He's put up really, really good numbers. I just want to see a little bit more out of him. Maybe, like I said, a month worth of time there in AAA. So that's where I'm at. Right now, getting Henry Davis right is more important than having a better backup catcher for a week or two.
Yeah, that's a very good point. That's all fair. I think I side a little differently right now. And the way I side is what the Pirates aren't going to do, because this is simply what they don't do. They don't adjust. I'm absolutely on the front of Henry Davis needs to go down. Let's give him some time. Let's get him right. We're okay right now. Like, we have Bart, who offensively, and I go back to this, right, since the Nick Gonzalez call up, right, since May 11th, what have the Pirates been doing? Because they've been playing much differently. And Joey Bart's been the best hitter. Now, granted, it is only 20 plate appearances he has, but he has a 209 weighted runs created plus in the past 2 weeks. He has been like their best hitter in doing so. Yasmani Grandal has come up and I'm not going to say has produced, but he's been clutch. When there's guys on base, he finds a way to drive them in. You can't ask for much at this point in time, him being the backup catcher. You can't ask for much as a backup catcher, especially the duo right now of Bart and Grandal, right? So the catching position has been fine and has allowed Henry Davis the opportunity to go down to AAA and do his thing. But we're already kind of worried about Grandal's groin. And just the fact that he is aged, and this puts him as the everyday catcher, and Joey Bart potentially on the IL, as we're mentioning, right? If he goes to IL, like you're left with Bart being gone, Grandal the everyday, and Grant Cook as your backup. Now that catching position looks kind of weak. Because here's the thing again, like I'm not ready to rely on Grandal as like my everyday guy. So this is where you got to kind of pivot and adjust. This is where I'm saying, you know what, Henry, we need you, buddy. We need you. And thankfully he is performing, and he's performing at a tremendous rate, Jim. This isn't also just like, oh, Henry's looking good. Henry is obliterating the baseball right now, just completely. So that helps me feel a little more ease. Yes, I'd rather him stay there right now. But there's a need on the major league club. That's what matters. We talk about sense of urgency. Yeah, the offense is doing its job for the most part, but we need to get some wins here. And this bullpen isn't playing too well. So we might need to do it by offense. Henry, I need you. You're the number one pick. You're here because you have offense. You're showing it's back in AAA right now. We need you. But here's the thing. It's a little bit different this time. Remember how there was nobody producing and all the weight on the world was on your shoulders because you had to produce because nobody is? Everyone is. Just come up here. Just keep doing your thing. We don't need you to be the guy. You don't have to carry this offense. They're doing it, right? Kutch has a 174 weighted runs created plus in the past 2 weeks. Nick Gonzalez is coming up here, and he's taking on that load for you. He's got a 141 weighted runs created plus. Brian Reynolds, 137. All of ours, 130. Connor Joe, 120. The offense is doing it. We just need you to come up here and be a piece. But we need you. We need you. Let's do it. We know you want to be here. Let's do it.
Yeah, I understand that argument. I just don't agree with it. I right now, I think you just got to lean on Yaz, like you mentioned. There's enough off days this week too that you could probably lean on Yaz more than you specifically need to. Like there's a day game on Wednesday, but then they've got an off day immediately after. So you could probably go Yaz, night game, day game, back to back. And then you get into the weekend and you go Yaz, and then maybe Cook on Sunday. Like you can get away with having your backup catcher catch one time in this next week. So,
and I'll give you that. If there is timing for this to happen,
yeah.
And you talk about Martin Perez, even also the pitching side, this is the week. So that does benefit them.
So I think you go that route. You give Henry Davis just a little bit more time down there. If after a week he's still doing this and he's sitting at 22, 21 games now where he's just mashing, then I'm getting a lot closer to that point where I'm feeling comfortable again. But yeah, right now I'm not bringing Henry Davis back up. I just don't want to put that on him just yet. And I don't think he's not capable of it. Like I think he's perfectly capable of doing it from like a mental standpoint coming back up. But I want him to get really comfortable over a somewhat extended period of time. And 16 games isn't enough for me.
Yeah. Again, like totally fair. This isn't a pounding the table moment for me. This is I'm fine with both. Like if they don't call him up, I'm not going to be all Ben Cherington. This isn't a serious team. Put it that way, right? I side on the let's do it. Let's get you up here. Ryan says I can't wait for delay to return. Yeah, Jason, if you'd be here, we don't have to worry about it. We'll have you here instead. But I do just want to throw out some numbers. What we are talking about here, like how good is Henry Davis right now in those 16 games? He is batting 304, 458, slugging 714, good for a 194. Weighted runs created plus in AAA. 16 games, like you mentioned, 6 home runs, 5 doubles. Just mashing. Just mashing.
Yeah, he's come down there and he's done really, really well. He's faced a lot of Toledo, which
Yes.
5 games against Toledo. That's just Toledo might as well be a high school team at this point with the way they are playing. I think I think Indianapolis scored double-digit runs in like every single one of those games. That's how bad Toledo is. So, like out of those 6 homers that he has, at least 2 of them are off position players that I know of. Yeah, so I just want to see more. That's all. And typically, I'm the guy like banging the door for the young guys to come up, but I want to make sure he's good.
Yeah. Okay. No. Again, like I'm fine with that, but I do side on the urgency. There's a need here. Let's get you up. You're looking good. Let's do it. But if they decide not to, and again, this all comes down to Joey Bart. Like Joey Bart could be okay, and now this is a moot point. And yes, keep him down there for a bit of time. But if he's not,
if Joey Bart's okay, then we just wasted 15 minutes of this podcast segment. And thank you all for listening.
Honestly, we usually waste about an hour, so 15 minutes ain't too bad.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. But yeah, like outside of that, whatevs. Jason DeLay is like close to returning from the 6 to 8. And then Henry Davis could be here soon. So I know it's kind of thin because of injury reasons, but pretty soon it's going to be pretty deep just by bodies and performance. So something we didn't think that they had this year.
Yep.
All right, cool. Outside of the catching, anything else that we wanted to talk before we bring on Anthony?
No, let's bring on Anthony Murphy from Bucs On Deck. While we're doing that, the show this week and every week is sponsored by Chris Gates Fitness. And while you're listening, go ahead and do something for us. Go ahead and subscribe to Chris's YouTube channel. You can find him at youtube.com/Chris Gates Fitness, or just search for his name and you'll find his channel. Chris is putting a ton of effort into his videos lately, and it's definitely worth a sub. He posts daily videos that dive deep into different aspects of health and fitness to help you learn how to manage your diet, exercise, and more, and make progress. That's youtube.com/Chris Gates Fitness. As a reminder, Chris is an online fitness coach from Pittsburgh, huge Pittsburgh sports fan, friend of the show, works with people all over town, all over the world to chase their fitness goals, whether it's to lose body fat, build muscle, or do both while improving your overall health and wellness. Chris helps people find a sustainable approach with diet and exercise to make programs that stick. He's been working with me for well over a year, and I can't thank him enough for how much help he's provided and the accountability that he gives me, especially with having a pretty busy schedule. So yeah, youtube.com/Chris Gates Fitness. Go subscribe today, guys.
There you have it. So welcome to the show, Anthony Murphy, for another Starbucs on Deck. Anthony Murphy from Bucs On Deck. Anthony, I see you rubbing your eyes. We started this an hour later. What's the deal, buddy?
I know that. Trust me, that extra hour kicked in very clutch this morning. So
I was telling Murphy last night. I was like, you good for doing the show a little bit later? He's like, it's your show. I'm just here for it. So.
I'm like, it's your guys' thing. Like, sure. And an extra hour of sleep. Let's go.
Yeah, he was like, but I will take that extra hour.
Yeah, absolutely.
But anyways, yeah, glad to have you back on the show. As always, we talk about the farm system when you come on, because who better to bring on than the guys from Bucs On Deck. So Anthony, it's another pretty big week, I would say. So what do you have for us this week?
I don't know where you guys want to start. Hitting, pitching. Anything specific?
Let's start with let's go hitting. Yeah, let's go
Hitting?
hitting.
I
I
think
hear there's a guy. I don't know if you have him as one of your two, but I hear there's a guy in AAA who's mashing the ball.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple I can go. There's a couple. Like you said, it was a pretty good week for the offense down in Indy. They put up like 10 runs in an inning on a position player. So everyone got a nice little bump on the offensive category. But like, I mean, Henry Davis is like, outside the fact, obviously if you just look at numbers, Henry Davis looking good, looking like obviously what he's 24-year-old former first overall pick. So you kind of expect him to go back to AAA and hit like that. But like, he was struggling in the majors to get to the fastball, and the quality of contact's pretty solid on the fastball right now. I haven't been able to find like the average velocity or anything like that he's faced, like to see if like there's a big velocity difference in the fastball he's facing, but he's slugging over 700 right now against fastballs and breaking balls. Doing everything that you kind of want to see at this point. So I'm kind of in the boat, let it ride out kind of thing. Let him. I don't want to mess with him until you're fully ready to say, okay, well, you're our catcher again, and that will probably come after a week of facing better pitching than he did this week or this past week.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, encouraging sign. Just all the eye test looks good with him so far. The numbers kind of back it up. You know, I was on here and the eye test was really good with Nick Gonzalez, but then there's some like underlying numbers to maybe be concerned about on there. I think Davis is kind of passing on both ends at this point for it. So really, really encouraging start for him. I haven't had too much of a chance to kind of like see like much of his work behind the plate to see like defensively if he's working on some things. But like, I mean, offense was always going to be kind of the calling card, and I think everyone would be okay with a little bit of a below average defensive catcher if he's mashing in the majors at that point. So
yeah. Real quick, before we kind of get into the meat and potatoes of your segment here, we talked about Grant Cook, and I would imagine a lot of people don't know anything about Grant Cook. So just if he ends up getting the call for a week or so, and he gets into a game, maybe two, what can people expect out of Grant Cook? Like, tell us just a short elevator pitch, like 1 to 2 minutes. Who's Grant Cook?
Well, the one thing that I really like about him is like, just a couple years ago, like, 2020, there's no minor league season. And, once everything kind of got going again, he was just kind of a third catcher. You send him somewhere, put him on the development list, and he was kind of there just to work with the bullpen and side sessions. But he's kind of built himself up to, he's not going to be a great hitter, but like a very reliable defensive catcher, enough to where like he got the call up to AAA over some other guys and worked his way into some playing time there and kind of the guy down there at times in Indianapolis. And I think he caught Paul Skeens just about every single time that Paul Skeens pitched, I believe, if not almost. And like even then, like I think those like who watched a lot of the spring training games, he got in as like a late game sub quite often there. So it kind of feels like the Pirates are not like high on him as in like maybe he's an answer, but like as far as like the go-to depth guy, I think he's kind of become that guy for him. Really strong defensively, calls a good game, all that kind of stuff that you're going to see. If it's someone that's got to fill in there, like while your offense is clicking, like it's like if you plugged off Austin Hedges into a better lineup to where you don't have to pay attention to, you're not relying on Austin Hedges for any offense at all because the rest of the offense is clicking. So you're more okay with it then.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. All right. Well, let's yeah. Thanks for that. I just figure a lot of people probably, because he's not a prospect. Like he's not. He's an organizational depth piece, and he's an organizational depth piece they may need this week. So yeah, appreciate that.
they have quite a bit of guys that I would say fill that role, and they fill that role pretty well on there. But he's probably the guy right now as far as the organizational guys they have.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
All right. So let's get into it. What two hitters stood out the most for you this week?
So go first guy, probably go all the way down to the complex for this guy that they got in the trade for in the Carlos Santana trade, Johnny Severino. Yes. Led the complex over the last week in OPS, had 3 home runs, 6 RBIs, everything he makes. Like, I don't think he got any hits in like the 2 games that I saw him playing while I was down there. But like it's one of those, like, the contact sounds different when he hits the ball. It sounds different, and you're starting to see it kind of translate as the season's gone on. A little bit of swing and miss issue right now. He's striking out a little bit, but like. Complex, you can say that about like a lot of guys and stuff like that. But the complex league isn't really known for like seeing guys with like home run power, unless you're like a 22, 23-year-old guy who's just like barely hanging on kind of thing. So for an 18, 19-year-old to be having this kind of home run surge is incredibly encouraging. I thought with like the complex league getting moved up like a month, with they would kind of ride out like Severino and Yordani out for the entire season, and then that still gives you about 2 months of Bradenton left, and you can kind of push them up to Bradenton. But they're both kind of like playing into a situation to where like, okay, well, the complex might be too easy for them at this point. Like, he's just every time he's walking. When he's not hitting home runs, he gets on like first, and then he's like stealing second. So like even like Johnny Severino right now, it kind of seems like the complex isn't becoming much of a challenge now. So he might push his way. Might make a case he's pushing his way into like a early promotion, or at least earlier than what I thought at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, 6 stolen bases, 4 homers in 14 games. So yeah, that power speed combo is certainly playing out.
Yeah, the FCL team had like a game where they had like 7 or 8 steals in a game, and they mostly do like 7-inning games now. So they're just like, if they get a guy on first, like he's gonna get on set. They had a guy who got a single and then stole second and third on like the next 3 pitches or something like that. So they're just running crazy down there right now. They have that. I was looking at the team numbers, and the Pirates FCL team has the highest OPS by like over 100 points than any other team down there right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The other teams are going to kick them out of the league.
Yeah.
they're gonna bump them up to the FSL just because they're bullying everybody.
Pirates could have 2 at least okay teams in the FCL right now, at least hitting wise, just based on all the guys that they have down there right now. It's try not to get too excited over hitting guys until they hit like AA and stuff like that. But there's a nice crowd of guys down there that hopefully it's one of those, like, we're going to throw like 10 to 15 guys up against the wall, and hopefully 2 or 3 of them stick once they hit AA. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's definitely a lot of interesting names right now down there. So yeah, I think we'll talk to you a lot about this, this team.
To be honest, you want to talk about hitting guys, there isn't a lot happening in Double and AAA, so
that's probably why we will
be. So it's usually easier to narrow it down to like Greensboro's, like they're hitting at another level right now. They're taking full advantage of their home park. It was a little bit of a slow start, but they're hitting home runs like left and right now in Greensboro. So most of the action is down in the lower levels, at least hitting wise.
Nice. All right. So who's the next hitter?
We'll have to go to. I don't know if he's probably doesn't qualify as a prospect, but I know everyone's starving for some sort of first base kind of thing. And Nick Samillo, ever since he started the year in on the development list, and they kind of worked him in slow as things gone on, and then he's kind of just taken over the first base position down there in Greensboro, and he's just hitting He hit 2 home runs over this last week. I think he has like 6 or 7 this month. Started the month only with 1, and now he leads the system in home runs. So even had like a stolen base yesterday. So he's just hitting well. The strikeouts are like right there. Strikeouts are like right there, like borderline for a guy who's 24 and technically in his second year of Greensboro.
Mhm.
But
Right.
like the power, the home runs he's hitting aren't Greensboro home runs. Those are any ballpark home runs. So he struggled to make contact last year, or like effective contact. Like he'd hit the ball, but he's hitting it with authority now finally. So it looks like he's getting a little bit of confidence and stuff like that. You have Seth Beer in Double-A right now, so like there's not much holding him back. So he's another guy too. Like if like another month or so when you're starting to look to shuffle guys, he's a guy that you're probably at the top of the list want to see how he does against Double-A hitting or pitching.
Yeah, 24. He was the 16th round pick in the 2022 draft out of Rutgers. So,
Yep.
not
Good
someone
old
I've ever paid any
Piscataway, New
attention
Jersey.
to. I've never paid attention to any of to this guy whatsoever. I didn't
Yeah,
even know he existed, to be honest.
He was even in like Bradenton, like he's always kind of like been. They've always up to like this month kind of treated him almost like a depth player. Like last
Yeah.
year, he spent time on the development list. Didn't really ever play like when he was with Bradenton. They throw him in against like lefties and stuff like that. So like like okay, well he's a platoon guy in single A, like next kind of thing. So, but like it's the hitting's continually to kind of come. He's getting incorporated more into the lineup and stuff like that. And they took 2 first basemen with like later round picks last year. Josiah, or I guess a couple years ago, Josiah Seidler was another one, and he kind of like he was the guy that kind of like burst onto the scene last year. He was hitting like home runs left and right down in Florida and stuff like that. Made his way to Greensboro, and he's kind of just hit a wall. He started the year as the first baseman. He's on the development list now, and Samella's just kind of taken over and just rode away with it, kind of thing. So I'm still not sure if I still probably wouldn't consider him like a prospect yet, but like I know everyone kind of wants something at first base, and he's probably, unless you want to consider Matt Gorski a first baseman, the best hitting one.
Yeah, I was saying,
right
unless
now.
you want to. Yeah, Gorski's had a really hot week or 2.
Yeah, which he's not. That's kind of nothing new for him. He like Gorski usually has at least a week or 2 out of a season the last couple of years, to where he just kind of goes absolutely crazy. I think he hit like 10 home runs in a week in Greensboro a couple of years ago, right before he got promoted.
Yeah,
he did that.
I know he was going. I remember he was going nuts in Greensboro right before he got promoted. So
yeah.
Another guy who's probably not really a prospect, like he technically counts as one, but he's 26. He's doing in AAA what you would hope a 26-year-old is doing in AAA.
Basically.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've seen like elsewhere, like the 26, 27, 28-year-old like quad A guys get like really hot for like a little bit of a stretch, and not saying that's the case here. Like the guy has. The one thing that I'll always say about Matt Gorski is there is no denying the raw power, solely because that swing is so funky that it is all muscle that he's using to hit, because there's no unison. There's just moving parts everywhere. It's you want to generally use your whole body to put power behind the swing and all that. It's all him. It's all muscle that he's setting it out on there, and which leads to a lot of the swing and miss issues, because there is so much moving parts and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. Let's shift focus to the pitchers. A couple guys we want to highlight this week from the mound.
So I guess the first guy, and he's kind of become like a personal favorite for me as far as like pitching, and I had a chance to talk with him while I was down in Bradenton. The numbers are still Still not great on there, but you can kind of see the stuff starting to turn. He had his best start this past week as a pro. Christian Curtis was the team's 12th round pick last year. He got an overslot deal. He threw 5 innings, only gave up 2 hits, 1 run, struck out 9, which the innings pitch and the strikeouts are career high for him. He also walked 4. The walks have been really bad. He's been really bitten by the home run. I think his home run fly ball rate is like 30% right now, which generally league average is like 10. So
Okay.
they're very unlucky. Like it's the same kind of thing I said with like Sean Sullivan a couple years ago. Like he had like a 30% home run fly ball rate and like his ERA was like super high. But then it's like, okay, well if that comes down, you're looking at much better numbers overall generally. So, and Bradenton generally isn't like a home run like factory and stuff like that, especially during the summer. So theoretically, you could see that coming down, and once that starts coming down, but he pitched in the he was a late sub for the breakout game. Has a really good fastball, a couple pitches on there. I talked to him. He actually he says he throws he actually throws 2 different curveballs. One of them is the death ball, you know what they call that. Just like a really, really hard curveball. It registers on Savant as a slider, but it's really just like a curve. He had a couple surgeries back in college, and there was some like nerve damage that happened. They actually had to go back and redo the surgery because of the nerve damage. So he's still getting feeling back in his throwing hand, which has led to some of the control issues, because there'll be times during the game he's like everything's going great, and then like the control will just completely drop, and that's him still kind of learning how to pitch with the feeling, with not 100% feeling in his hand. He said based off of last year when they drafted him to now, it's like leaps and bounds better. So he's getting better gradually on there. It's just still trying to work with that, and every now and again stuff will drop, and that's kind of when you'll see like a lot of the walks, like 2 of the walks that he had in his last start were like back to back, so you could be like, okay, well maybe he just kind of dealt with that there. But
yeah, definitely seeing where the walks are an issue with him.
Yeah.
But striking out batters and yeah, his best, that was his best start as a pro, was this past week.
Yeah, he had 13 swing and miss. He had like a 50% whiff rate, 22 called strikes. So he was throwing a lot of strikes. He like a fastball cutter, nice little good changeup at times, and then like I said, the two different curveballs that he uses. So guy's interesting stuff. He was a guy that kind of struck me as he's probably like a reliever long term kind of thing and all that. But like if you can throw him into the bullpen for like an inning or two, and he's already thrown 96, 97, maybe he's a guy that can get up to 98, 99 then at that point, if he's only going 1 or 2 innings. And the fastball play, he's also, because he only pitched 1 full season in college. So he's learning how to use the fastball, and the Pirates have done a good job of kind of teaching him how the fastball plays better. Like you could see him starting to use it up in the zone a lot more as it's gone on. And that's when you've seen the swing and misses kind of go up for it then. Like he was throwing 97, 98 his first couple starts, but everything was like middle down, and he wasn't getting any misses with it. Now they're starting to get him throw it a little more elevated, and the strikeouts are starting to come at a much better rate. So he's a project. He's a project because he hasn't pitched much. He's a project because of the control, project because of the issues with the arm. But I think you can see why the Pirates rolled the dice and gave the overslot money and all that kind of stuff to him, because of the intrigue and upside kind of thing. So,
cool.
Nice.
Who else?
I guess like I said, Greensboro, the ball's been kind of flying out of Greensboro. So the best way to avoid that is just not to let hitters get contact with it. And Patrick Riley threw 5 no-hit innings last week. So that's not allowing hit is generally a key to success, I would say. So
good job, coach.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. See, he got 5 no-hit innings, 7 strikeouts. Strikeout rate's up to like 33% right now. He has probably surpassed what I had expecting, and it's still high A. He's been he's been bit by it being like high A and Greensboro and stuff like that with the home run ball. He gave up one a couple starts ago that I don't think you've all heard how the announcer in Greensboro can get with some of the calls. He literally was just like, everyone just kind of assumed it was just a pop up, and it just kept going and then going, and then it was just. I think it amazed everyone that it was a home run, and it was like a 3-run home run, and he was rolling up to that point, and then it's just like, okay, well, now he gave up this. Should have been a fly ball like at every other ballpark in all of baseball, and then it's a home run. So he's given up a couple of those. Still a little bit of a working on the control thing, but I think he was a guy who like intrigued me as a starter. But like, okay, he's a guy that, but he could probably, if you throw him in the bullpen now, he could probably push to like AAA by the end of the year, kind of thing. They've committed to working him as a starter. Look good. He's pitching better, deeper in the game. The only thing that I don't like is they don't have any kind of like radar reading right now. So I have no clue how hard he's thrown, especially later in the game. I know, I think it was Josh Norris for Baseball America. He was at one of his starts, and he said it was like 92 to 94, up to like 96, 97, which for a guy learning how to start, and with the control issues, he's probably dialing it back some to make sure he's throwing strikes to trying to build up. But he's, as a starter, I think he's done better than I expected so far, numbers aside.
Yeah, I'll say this with Patrick Riley, and this might be the second time we've talked about him this year on the show, but because he had another really, really good outing earlier in the year too, against the same team too. So I don't know if it's just that team, whoever Boston's affiliate is, he's gone 10 scoreless against them with 15 strikeouts. So he dominates those guys. But I the first look I had at him, and I think the first look a lot of people had, was during that spring breakout game.
Yeah.
And it was just an inning of work, but you could see how the stuff plays kind of out of the bullpen in spurts.
Yeah.
You mentioned the whole, he could probably push AAA if you just make him a reliever right now. What's kind of like your philosophy behind that? Like, would the Pirates even consider doing something like that, especially with the way their bullpen is performing? Like, would they take some of these guys who are likely going to be relievers and just say, you know what, we need you, let's push you, and see if they can find something from their organization right now, because like they need relief help.
Mm-hmm.
What are the odds of something like that happening?
I would probably say, for someone who, like Patrick Riley specifically, just because they invested the high pick in him.
The Patrick Rileys of the world, who else is down there who probably fits the same mold? JP Massey. Who else? Carlson Reed, guys like that, where, maybe bullpen is where they're going. I think actually a really good example is Braxton Ashcraft. Actually, like a lot of guys probably think he's a future reliever. He has a lot of intrigue as a starter in AA. He's on the 40 man. The stuff is obviously really good and would play in the bullpen, I think, right now. Like Braxton Ashcraft could be a major league reliever right now. So like, do you just say, hey, you know what, we could really use you right now? Or do they stick with the development and say, no, we're gonna try to use a starting pitcher? Like, at what point do you weigh those two options?
I think the point would be, I guess maybe if you start seeing people drop like they did late last year, maybe then. But then also too, like if people start dropping like they did last year, it's probably good that you have someone like Ashcraft on the 40 man who is stretched out like that, so you're not running three bullpen games out of 5 throughout the rotation. Ashcraft is definitely someone who could be a major league reliever right now, probably a very good one. I mean, he was throwing 97 his last time out, And I mean, it was over like the first 3-4 innings. He was up 97 consistently. So in a lot shorter outings, yeah, I think the fastball would probably play a lot better. He has 2 above average. I probably say the slider is a plus pitch as well. So he'd definitely be a guy. Like I think that's part of the reason why you build so much depth. And there are some intriguing guys like bullpen wise in AAA that are not on the 40 man. Some like Ben Heller, something like that. He's done pretty well down there. So I would probably imagine you'd want to give those guys a shot too first before you start bringing up you even start the conversation of taking like someone like Riley out of the rotation for as good as he's done, or even like taking Ashcraft out of the rotation for as good as he's done. So you probably want to cycle through some of those guys first. But if it gets to be like an all hands on deck kind of situation and the Pirates are in the thick of things, then I mean, that's what I mean. We've seen the Cardinals back in their like heyday take a guy and shoving him in the back of the bullpen and let it ride, and then throw him back into the rotation the following year, kind of stuff. And so
that's what I kind of want to go with this. Like, what's your thought on that? Being part of the development is like saying like, hey, let's make you a bullpen this year, but we're not going to. We need bullpen help. Let's make you the reliever. It's more of a temporary. That's part of your development, and then next year, let's get you back to being stretched out.
I think if the situation is right and calls for it, then go for it. Go for it. And the situation's right. I'm saying you're either in the playoffs or you have a shot at the playoffs, and you think that kind of arm would make the difference, or or someone else goes down, a couple people go down and stuff like that, or a couple people just are straight. Relievers are relievers is the most unpredictable position out there, and I think we're seeing it now. That thank goodness like the rotations kind of like broke through and stuff like that, because I think now if we go into a season saying that like our bullpen is the strength of the team, then you might be in trouble, because like you can never tell what's going to happen. I mean, even Bednar's pitching better, I guess, but like still like, is it David Bednar that we're used to seeing? So it's the most unpredictable position, and I guess anything can happen with it. If the cards align right for it, then yeah, go for it. Always go for it. Go. You never know in baseball. You can win the World Series one year and then not even make the playoffs. The next, what the Cardinals or the Texas Rangers had like the fourth overall pick the same year that they end up winning the World Series. So things can change. I mean, obviously 2 different situations. So, but if you have the opportunity to do it, and you think Ashcraft throwing the 8th inning will make the difference, then I think you do it. You can always stretch him back out the following year.
Cool.
But that has to be like a last resort, I feel like, for me.
I bring that up because Tyler's actually talked about that a little bit, just like as far as development, and like I think one pretty famous, like Corbin Burns, like he came up and was right in the bullpen. Like this is Corbin Burns has talked about, how good of a pitcher he is. But yeah, like for the Brewers, he came up right away, right into the bullpen, and it was like, okay, yeah, we needed you. That's part of your development. Next year, you're back in the starting role, and again, that he became Corbin Burns. So yeah, I just want to kind of like get your feel for that.
Freddie Peralta, same way. He was in the bullpen first couple of years for the Brewers. I feel like it's a very Brewers move.
Yeah,
the Brewers do it a lot.
Yeah,
they tend to produce people.
Yeah,
so
they're also typically in it, like Murphy says. If they're in it, they could use those relievers. They provide a lot of value.
Yeah. And I think like right now where things are going and all that, I mean, like they're not too far out of like 500 and stuff like that. But I think as of right now, you probably just let them. You stay the course on all that. Maybe you give like the biggest thing that you probably do is send Patrick Riley to Double-A by the end of the year, kind of thing. But outside of that, if they are that high on him, kind of thing, and they invested the high draft pick and I think he got right at slot value, kind of thing. They're doing that probably because they want to at least test the water. And there's nothing wrong like development wise, be able to pitch 5 to 6 innings guaranteed per week, sometimes more, goes a lot further for development wise, and you have better opportunity to learn how to pitch, like starting wise, as opposed to like, we're going to throw you in the bullpen. We know you can hit 100. Just go out here in high A and throw 100 15 times. You're not going to learn too much doing that. And you get to the majors, and hitters are a lot better up there, and they can turn on a 100-mile-an-hour pitch every now and again. So if you don't have anything else to offer outside of that, you just missed out a bunch of development time because you're just trying to pump gas the entire time.
Nice perspective there.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Murphy.
Okay.
Bucs On Deck again, Substack. If you aren't subscribed, subscribe to it. It's great stuff. Your YouTube page too. I think it's just Anthony Murphy, right?
So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Lots of prospect videos. So if you like just kind of watching prospects pitch, he's got plenty of that over there. So yeah, make sure you subscribe. Good stuff from Bucs On Deck.
Yeah. I appreciate it.
Yeah. We appreciate
There you go.
Yeah. All right. You guys have a good one.
All right. You too,
All
man.
right.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
All right.
I like how we're getting some deep cuts from him too. This week was all about the deep cuts, I feel.
Well, there's a lot of stuff to like. We've got the 4 guys who we like to get, right? But
Right.
then there's a lot of other stuff going on, like who's Grant Cook? I've heard multiple people this week talk about Braxton Ashcraft and bringing him up, but yeah, like what does that mean? I mean, Braxton Ashcraft is very much a good starting pitching prospect, right?
What does that mean?
Like, do you mess with that development to get a major league experience in the bullpen? I think there's, and that's something that we've talked about a lot over the years, right? Like we've talked about this strategy a lot. Like, hey, bring up your starting pitchers to be relievers, and it's just not something that the Pirates have ever really shown to do. Like,
Yeah.
I can't remember. I actually can't even remember the last time they brought up a starting pitching prospect and was like, "Hey, you're just going to be in the bullpen for now." I can't
I guess
think of the last one.
To the point, you probably have too much starting pitching and you need someone in the bullpen. That's never been a problem.
Yeah, that's true.
And you also have to be good and like a need, and that's not really been too much of a problem of late. So yeah, I get that point. I guess the closest, and that was more or less like effective wise, wasn't Glasnow in the bullpen for a bit of time? Like that would probably be like the closest you can come to that. But again, that was more just like his actual production than just like, here's how we're going to develop you.
Yeah, I think Glasnow was originally brought up as a starter, and it was just like, oh, once you haven't been pitching very well, so let's
Right.
put you in the bullpen. But no, that is a good point. That was 2016. He got called up in July to make 2 starts in July, but then when he got called up in September in 2016, bullpen, and then he started his last 2 games of that season. So there's a little bit of that, yeah, with Tyler Glasnow, where he had some bullpen games when he first came up. So it's a good point there. But again, he wasn't like exclusively a reliever. It was like, I mean, he came in and pitched 3 innings out of the bullpen twice. Yeah.
But again, like outside of that, I can't think of anybody.
Yeah.
But,
cool.
Yeah. Good stuff though.
Yeah.
So another 2-game series coming up. We can talk about this upcoming series of the Tigers because it's the Tigers and it's got to be a 2-game series. It's the rule.
Yeah, so dumb.
So here we go, talking about this 2-game series against the Tigers again. This time going to be in Detroit. I don't know, Jim. It's kind of like you look at these 2 teams; they're kind of similar. And you look at this past month, and the Tigers bullpen has been really, really bad too. So I don't know what to make of this. Their offense is kind of kicked up this past, in May, just like the Pirates have, although Pirates is more recent. But yeah, it's kind of like it's weird to say like 2 evenly matched teams to a degree.
Yeah, I'll see. The Tigers are 26-27 in a crappy AL Central. Pirates are just a little bit below that in a crappy NL Central. Actually, I guess you can
Right.
say the NL Central's kind of on a roll right now, especially with the way the Cardinals have been playing. But yeah, very similar teams. Like they rely on their young pitching. They kind of have pieced together a team of prospects and veterans. So yeah, I think I can buy that similar team. Amazing pitching matchup on Tuesday between Jared Jones and Tarek Skubal. Skubal has been AL Cy Young candidate worthy so far this season. 6-1, 10 starts, 2.25 earned run average. He's been outstanding. We all know how great Jared Jones has been. So if you love pitching matchups, like that's going to be a fun pitching matchup between two pitchers who are on the top of their game right now. Lots of strikeouts, really good stuff. That should be a fun game Tuesday night. Just seeing those two go back and forth because it doesn't get much more talented than Skubal Jones. That's a lot of firepower on the mound.
Yeah, for sure.
And
But
both
Jim,
like super young too. Skubal's 27. I mean, he's kind of put it all together now. This is his fourth year. I guess he's not as young as I thought he was. Gosh, he's been around for 4 years, but he's like finally put it together, and he's really good.
yeah. Well, that Tigers rebuild started quite a bit ago, Jim.
Yeah, that's true.
I know it's still kind of going, but yeah, like you said, good matchup there. But also, you're talking about just the series. If it's going to be a 2-game series, what better way to do it than to have Jared Jones and Paul Skeens as your two guys going to be in here, the Hundo boys. So yeah, like that's going to be a good matchup altogether. But then the very next game is going to be Paul Skeens, and he's going against Jack Flaherty. So also having a really good year. Seems like Detroit's sending out their best. The Pirates going to send out their best and see who can take these 2 games.
Yeah, I didn't even realize how good of a year Jack Flaherty was having. He's definitely, I mean,
Mhm.
that's a resurgence that he's experiencing there in Detroit. So, yeah, should be
I
2 good pitching matchups.
I could be wrong, and this could be different, but I think does Jack Flaherty, I think, lead in K rate in baseball?
Oh, you'd have to look that up.
I'm looking up, but yeah, like to go to your point, I know he's been up there.
Yeah. But yeah, Tigers lineup. There's been a few people like Kerry Carpenter's on fire. Colt Keith, their rookie second baseman. He's been playing really well as of late after having a rough start. Because he started off awful, but he's been turning it on here lately. Outside that, Riley Green is cooling off a bit, but still overall a really good season from him. Yeah, I mean, you can see if you're comparing these two teams, right? There's a lot of like high draft picks, ton of prospect firepower, and it's just like, are they putting it together, right? Like you could say Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson are Nick Gonzalez and Henry Davis, right? Um, Riley Green's obviously established himself a bit more. Spencer Torkelson has been up and down, up and down, up and down, but still
Mhm.
hasn't really established what you'd want to see out of a first overall pick. So, yeah, there's some parallels here.
Yeah, definitely. I do want to go back. So what I talked about with Flaherty, Jack is tied with Tyler Glass now for the second highest K rate as far as starting pitchers.
There you go.
So Flaherty and Paul Skeens day coming after Skubal and Jared Jones. Like again, this is going to be a very good starting pitching series. So showtime.
Should see some strikeouts.
Yeah,
All 4 of these pitchers are known for their strikeout ability.
for sure. I'm excited.
Yeah, and also Comerica, that very much a pitcher friendly ballpark. So yeah, we could see some low scoring games, but yeah, we'll see what happens. Hopefully the Pirates can tag Skubal. I feel like they sometimes play really well against good pitchers, and for the most part, this lineup is built to be good against lefties. Like we didn't really see it yesterday with Sale, but for the most part, this lineup has been really good against left-handed starting pitchers this season. So yeah, let's see what happens.
I'm with you. And then again, like with Detroit, their bullpen has not been good. In the month of May, like both bottom 5 bullpens. So you have really good starting pitching. You have actually some pretty solid offensive right now, and bad bullpens. So I think if anything, this will be entertaining and frustrating altogether.
Yeah, it could be one of those games where like at the end of 6 innings, it's 1-1, and then it ends up 7-6, right? Final score.
Absolutely.
Don't know who the 7 is, but yeah, that's what you gotta watch. That's why you gotta watch.
But again, just to go in here, like this Pirates team, this actually speaks for both. You talk about the Centrals on both being weak, and I know like the Central and the NL is looking a little more interesting. But regardless, like these are 2 teams that if they're going to do something, they need to start stacking some wins, and this kind of matters. They're playing well, respectively, outside the bullpens for both of them. But like they're playing pretty well right now. Get into the thick of things, get some wins here, and like the Pirates can take one of 2, still kind of stay in the course. If they can sweep, take both games, it's going to do a lot. So again, you're starting to head into June right now. I know they say like, April games don't matter. Well, May games are almost done now. We're getting into June. Records going to start mattering. Talk about urgency. So yeah, let's see what happens with this Tigers game. But I'm loving these matchups.
Yeah, I mean, anytime Jones and Skeens are back to back in a series, we'll take that. As people who just want to enjoy watching a baseball game, I'll take Jones Skeens back to back any day.
MLB is going to be all over these, I feel.
Yeah, there could be
Pitching Ninja is going to have all kinds of
Jones Skeens back to back.
Yeah,
it doesn't get much better.
Nope. Cool. Well, I guess on that note, we'll probably get out of here.
Sounds good to me.
All right. So everyone, happy Memorial Day. Celebrate, enjoy. Pirates are off, so full enjoy today. We'll be back tomorrow, of course, with the post game, and we'll talk to you then. So with that being said, check out the links, the bio, the whatever, the descriptions and all this. We have a lot of things coming up. The tailgate is less than a month away now. So June 22nd, Kutch Bubblehead Night. Go ahead and RSVP. And then if you haven't, of course, subscribe, like, check out the memberships below to join. And we'll see you later.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Hey, you all. Thank you for watching. I know we try to provide the most entertaining content that we can, and we'd love to spread it to as many people as possible. So I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you could take the 5 seconds to like this video and subscribe to the page, it helps out so much more than you know. Thank you, and let's go Bucs.